60 seconds to comply.
I think you'd better do what he says, Mr. Kenny.
You have 60 seconds to comply. This is minute 30. Part man,
Part machine.
all pod.
This minute opens with one of the OCP staff telling Robocop, when you're at rest, you sit in this chair, and ends with Robocop being run through tests.
You'll find the last bit is, ah!
Yeah.
Yes.
And we are joined once again by Duncan Shields of several Tron podcasts and Time Bandits and all kinds of things.
Hello, everybody. Very, very happy to be here.
I'm very happy to have you. And,
Not this guy again.
I'm a huge fan of this movie. I've had a lot of fun the last couple minutes. I'm very happy to be a part of it. This is one of my favorite movies of all time.
You are noticing stuff we aren't spotting. It's great.
This is a how to make a movie primer, as far as I'm concerned.
yeah, I this is why I do like having the guests in. And, you know, we've been studying this movie. We got our own perceptions. But, yeah, getting another bit of fresh blood in to give us a new perspective. Like the fishing perspective especially.
Yeah. Every guest brings something to the table that makes you go, oh, sure. Wow. Oh, really? I didn't notice that. And even though you're like taking a microscope to it, just another pair of eyes can.
Yeah. I'm very selective with guests, and I always want to find someone who totally different perspective from my own, or it works in an industry that's going to give us an insight. So, I mean, so far we've already talked about that from a video game perspective, which has been interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You got me into talk about running away from a giant donut.
Oh?
The best shot in Prometheus.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Right.
I was like, what, in Robocop? Oh, no, in Prometheus, yeah.
No, I think a giant donut in a Robocop movie might be a little bit too on the nose.
I think Robocop would just stand there and it would bounce off of him, to be honest. And then he would be like, ow.
Speaking of donuts.
So this minute's a good one because, I mean, this is where it's not, well, okay, maybe it's not a good one, but this is an expository dump. This is what we like to call an expository dump. Yes. This is where, like, in every vampire movie, because the rules differ from vampire movie to vampire movie, you have to say, well, that's the thing about vampires. They can't cross running water, and they're scared of crucifixes, and they can't come out during the day. And you're like, oh, okay, so these are those vampires. Yeah. Okay, cool. Like, you need, at the beginning...
I think with a good buffing, that Robocop will sparkle in the sunlight, though.
He does?
He does. He glints. He shines. But this is a...
Shiny and chrome.
This is more of a...
How many references can I cram into one sentence?
This is a this is also setting up Easter eggs. These are the payoffs. The payoffs that's going to come later. These are like, here are his abilities.
Yeah, I think this is really efficiently done. You know, exposition doesn't have to be a bad thing.
It's hard. It's so hard though. It's so hard to shoehorn into a script and make it sound natural.
Yeah. So in this situation, this Robocop is new to all of this. Everyone's new to this, so it makes sense that, okay, so this is what he eats. This is how everything works.
In universe, this is also the scientists explaining to the people that are going to be looking after Robocop, this is what you need to know to look after Robocop, which tells the audience, this is stuff that we need to know about the world. Yeah, we're not seeing Robocop's daily schedule. We're seeing the tracking device being established, and we're seeing baby food being established.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like that though, right? But Morton is saying, how does he eat?
Yeah, even Morton doesn't know.
How does he poop?
That's the thing. The technician that's been working on him for 3 months says, well, it gives the answer. So like Morton and this technician should know this.
Yeah.
So this is clumsy.
True.
Right? This is like, you don't notice it, but you're like, hey, wait a second. But that's how hard it is to make expository dialogue believable.
I was thinking, because I do a lot of I do a lot of creative writing lately, and in written fiction, it's not so much of an issue because technically most of it is exposition.
Yeah.
Whereas film is like a whole other. That's actually one of the aspects that's very interesting to watch. Going back to our discussion about the language of film, is that the way we conveyed information it wasn't established from the get-go.
No. All communication has to be established. That's social constructs. That's all social construct. but my philosophical question is, if it's handled clumsily and you never noticed, is it still clumsy?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. So I guess the answer is no. What looking at it in a manner like this, then the cracks will start to show, but the strengths also show as well. So, and this film has got nothing but strengths. So I'm not trying to criticize it. I'm saying this minute is the expository dump about RoboCop.
It is good to analyze critically because maybe this is the one thing that does break a scene, and this could be a thing when you're watching it as an editor, as a director, you go, is this working? Is this not working? And I've got some notes about this when we come to the commentary section about Paul Hoban's thoughts on this scene, and not specifically like the storytelling aspects, but like the pacing and the editing. But yeah. People do this thing where like, we don't like exposition. We don't want exposition. It's about framing exposition to make it part of.
You need information, right? You need information, and there's like there's a character that one of our guests on Tron, he said there's a character in a lot of movies that he calls Johnny sees what he says. Johnny says what he sees. Johnny says
I
what
like
he sees.
that.
So there's some guy that's like, whoa, that car is out of control and coming right for us. You're like, yeah, dude, we've got eyes. It's a movie. Like
they're gonna eat them, and then they're gonna eat me. Oh my god!
Yeah, that's Troll 2, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
The best movie. I mean, after RoboCop.
The only good sequel.
Yes. I say as I review Tron Legacy.
Or what was I think it was Humphrey Bogart had a great quote about expository dialogue, and it's something I always bring up. Is he said, if you're going to have two people in the foreground talking to each other about expository dialogue for an extended amount of time, you better put two camels having sex in the background. So at least the audience has something to look at. And it's a humorous way of saying that, like, a visual medium can grind to a halt in the face of a long conversation, even if it's necessary information. So you got to do it in a good way, and this does it. This does it in a good way. Like,
well, that's where you go show don't tell for most things. You don't have to have the guy coming in with RoboCop saying, "Wow, will you look at this police station? It's sure going to be very good to house the robot cop here." Yeah. No, you just show a police station. People can get the thing through visual language. Yeah.
One thing I like about this scene here is that when the camera orbits around the holding cell cage, it's a wire cage. It's not. Yeah. It's not a typical cell with like bars on it or whatever you usually see in the movies. I don't know if they even have bars on cages anymore in police stations, but I don't think I fully understood that this was a holding cell cage that would otherwise have detainees and people that have been arrested.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that.
I thought it was it would normally be filled with perps, but I didn't get that. I was like, oh, there's a weird caged off area in the back, but they say plainly holding cell. So
well, they also have some police stations also have evidence in these sort of contained areas. Yeah. So could be that.
No, they say holding cell. He's like, we'll put him in the holding cell. This one right here. So this is a holding cell.
Yeah, I think it's different to, like, say, the actual cells where it's more heavy and just like the holding cells where you usually put your drunks.
Sure.
It is a modern day thing now where you see like a lot of police stations in movies where it is very much a wire caged area, no bars. Yeah. I think that's probably more a visual thing in cinema, like, because a bar is as an association of guilt as well. So let's be honest. So maybe they were like, we'll go for a wire fence because we want to obscure, we want to contain, we want to add this cinematic language, and if we just put bars, then how does that look when you put RoboCop in between the bars?
Yeah, for sure. And I like the way they went, but I just remember not understanding that this was a place that would normally house accused criminals or drunks or people that have been arrested.
I like RoboCop's toes, these little toesies sticking out there on their own.
The Robobeans.
Robobeans.
I like how Dr. Tyler's just breaking it down for him here. She's like, when you are at rest, you will sit in a chair. And RoboCop's like, yes, I understand. And I like that Morton is like, what about tracking? And I just kept thinking, like, dude, use your inside voice. I'm right here. There's no need to yell. Like, he's really like, what about tracking? I'm like, I'm right beside you. Like.
But in the scene, you've got to imagine there's got to be a lot of noise going on. So I think it works diegetically.
It works diegetically, yeah. It's these are nitpicks. These are movie by minute nitpicks. But then another technician holds up a small silver box that's supposed to be like a Google Maps tracker, saying like,
it's not as well.
We can check his location at all times with one of these. It's got a screen with an orange outline of what I assume the city is supposed to be, in a flashing red dot that I think is supposed to signify RoboCop. But
doesn't make any sense.
Even at the time. Right, because I think that red dot is supposed to be able to move around, but it's plainly orange lines painted on a box, and the red dot is clearly...
It's giving me Knight Rider vibes.
It's just a recessed LED. It's not mobile. It's not going to move around. So this is one of the only effects in the movie that I remember being ropey. But even when I saw it in the theater, I was like, that red dot's not going to move anywhere.
Yep.
I'm trying to remember, do they actually show another shot of the box? And because I'm fairly certain the idea is that the map moves around the dot. You want to see where the dot is because that's where RoboCop is. So
I don't remember.
I don't recall if they actually ever show the box.
It might have been RoboCop 2 where they showed it again. I'm not sure. It
could have been, yeah. Because I'm fairly certain there was an animation at some point, but that could have been in one of the later movies.
I think they were trying to make like a low-tech solution to like a digital screen here, like John Carpenter making the digital city grid out of like red reflective tape in Escape from New York or something. But
it's
A for effort here, but it didn't work.
I love this sort of stuff where we had all these different devices to do 50 million things, and now we've got everything in one device. So no matter what new application you needed, it's just, just use the tablet or the phone or the computer. Yeah. It's all on there.
If you're going to achieve that look now, you want to do the literal low-budget version, you just get an iPhone, stick it in a box so the screen pokes out, and you've got the grey box around it with
No, you got the floaty Minority Report screens in the remake. That's what you do, floaty screens all the way down.
No, but that's still high budget because you need to pay animators for that.
Oh, you just mean the cheap version? Yeah.
I'm just talking about low budget, we got a tracking device, it's just an iPhone in a box.
Yeah, and it's not Google Maps. It's Google Quest.
Google Maps. Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the dead giveaways to every movie when they're like, "I'll go search for it on the internet," and it's like, "Info Finder." I'm like, "Okay, I'm out."
Or worse, Bing.
There's actual legal reasons for that. It's to do with copyright and trademarking and paying licenses.
Yeah, but they could come up with a better name.
No, I know, but it means that they couldn't afford to get the product placement of Google in their film, and so now I'm watching a fictional. It ruins my immersion every time.
I really wanted to believe that guy in a tin suit can fly because
No, I hear you.
Now it's Oogle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
no, I hear what you're saying, but there is something there about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit weird when you think about it on reflection.
I don't leave the theater. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not.
I've wanted to.
This is bullshit. I'm out. And it's not like, no, Google, done. Not like that. No.
But it is a little bit of immersion breaking. Yeah, I do agree. It's not a deal breaker for me, but it is fun to nitpick these kind of things occasionally.
It betrays the budget of the film, and I think that if you can't avoid it, then have it in. But if you could avoid it, maybe try to avoid it.
If this is the only ding we can really place on RoboCop, that's not a bad thing.
Not bad at all. Exactly.
We've given the remake so many dings in 30 episodes.
Poor thing, it's very beaten up.
But we get here's where we get the great sequence of Morton saying, How does he eat? And the technician is like, his digestive system is extremely simple. The processor dispenses a rudimentary paste, good, that sustains his organic system, and walks over to the paste extruder. He squeezes out a small cup of the paste. It's like a Coke Slurpee mixed with applesauce.
Very dookie looking.
They really go, they really go hard on the sounds of the sloppy, squishy plopping coming out of the machine here. It's like the Matrix goo they have to eat on the Matrix ship there. I remember at this scene, in the theater, everybody was like, "Ooh," got quite the reaction.
So in the original script and in the novelization, it's actually Morton's who's eating the food, not Don Johnson.
I can imagine it
cool.
makes more sense with Don Johnson. He's so into it, whereas Morton's just got no time for it. He's disgusted.
No.
I do like this line when Morton goes, tastes like baby food. Roosevelt replies, "Well," Roosevelt grinned, "in a manner of speaking, he is a child." And Johnson's retort is, "Some baby."
Where is that? Is that in the script or the novel?
That's in the novelization.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little bit of flavor text.
A little bit, yeah. That's
Some
good.
baby. Oh, I like Don.
I love this little showcase of Don for sure because, he's like, "You want some?" And Morton's like, "Knock yourself out." But Johnson's, he's so positive in this film, but it's like he comes across like a child wearing a human suit, or
So that's why he wants the baby food.
Or someone who's positive no matter what. Like if he saw somebody jump to their death, he'd be like, "Wow, look at that." Or like, "Oh, that's Jerry."
Some guy getting murdered in front of him by a giant killer robot.
He'd be like, "Hey, that's Jerry." There's something a little off about this guy. Like, I don't know if he's just got like American Psycho levels of forced executive positivity.
We haven't seen his business card yet, though.
Nope. No, we haven't. Eggshell. Beautiful. Look at it. The offset. It's beautiful. Dear God. But Johnson keeps eating the paste, and he loves it.
I wonder what it tastes like.
So,
applesauce, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I'm hoping baby food, but
I'm glad they didn't make it green. That would have been pretty gross.
I don't know. Like, what's the worst color?
Oh God.
Yeah.
I don't know. Brown's a pretty bad color to like have your actors digest.
Yeah, I think that's the worst, right?
True.
Like vomit yellow. I think that's the worst.
Mm.
Oh.
A rainbow. They could have gotten a rainbow.
Okay, so usually what happens when they do make food or something that has to be consumed by an actor in a movie, they'll generally try and make it to the actor's taste, or they unless they're like really low budget, they'll try and make it something palpable, so like they're not drinking or eating something and immediately have a disgusting reaction. So this could very well be just literally baby food.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's just probably easier just to go, have some baby food in a cup and just stick your finger in there, and it is apple.
Yeah, and it's available at the pharmacy, or the pharmacy across the street.
Yeah,
it's not.
Yeah, the stuff coming out of the container is probably not the stuff in the cup.
No.
It's just that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because is it Breaking Bad, the crystal meth, the blue crystal meth they keep producing was just like basically blue candy colored like.
Yeah, it's the same way you make toffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the guy what's his face? The guy who plays the kid in that.
Jesse Pinkman.
I keep wanting to say Jesse Eisenberg, but it's just the wrong one. But yeah, that's it. Aaron Paul. Every single time someone comes to the set visit, he'd just take him straight to the crystal meth and go like, "Look, dude, eat this as much as you want. Like, come and check it out." And he would just shovel handfuls of crystal meth into his mouth. One interesting thing about this particular minute in regards to the script and the novelization is it cuts from the baby food moment to the gun range.
Oh.
Before we get the analyzing and the directives moment, it cuts to the gun range, does that bit, spinny gun, lockdown, and then comes back into the... This is a weird edit.
Yeah.
Huh.
The edit in the movie flows way better. It's all in one location. You're not jumping around spatially. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking when they wrote this.
Maybe they were keeping the the jumping around in time of the POVs, right? So
I have no idea, but if you look at the script, it makes no sense for it to just go sit in the chair, then jump to fire range, then back in the chair to finish, because to do all the targeting stuff. It's like, I think like maybe it was supposed to be like a time relationship, like a flashback or a flash forward. It made no sense.
Or like a it's just like a montage. Like now we had 3 months of him being created, and now we're getting a week of him being trained and set up. So here's him sitting in the chair. Here's him at the gun range. Here's him eating something. Here's him also at the gun range again. So they're hopping. Maybe it wouldn't have worked. It's better in the film.
Yeah, it flows way better in the film,
sure.
and also it keeps the Lewis revelation at the tail end
Yeah.
of this,
Yeah.
rather
Yeah,
than
exactly.
putting it right in the middle, where it's just like it has no impact. Because if you're going to do that, then you cut between the two of them. You cut to tracking, gun range, OCP thing, gun range. You'd edit it back and forth if you're going to do that.
Yeah.
And you probably wouldn't write that in the script.
No.
You really, really shouldn't be writing that in the script.
Yeah.
So, that's a big ding to you, Ed Newmeyer and Michael Miner. I know you're listening.
We get a cool shot here from underneath RoboCop's feet, the beans, as you were saying,
Yes.
as the chair swivels
I
on
do have that.
a few axes, like a pilot's training flight sim chair or whatever. I love that it's all like bolted and machined metal, like it's very solid and brutal and kind of low tech looking.
Yeah.
You know?
I was thinking,
Prototype stuff.
so giving him sort of human feet, I was thinking about well, the big toe is used for balance in human beings. Would you need that in a robot? Well, the Boston Dynamics robots don't need toes, but if it's a cyborg, it's a human who's used to walking a certain way, I wonder if that was necessary.
Probably, it might be.
But I don't think the toes bend at all.
Yeah, so what? Actually, yeah, it is just one piece.
I've heard that if you lose your pinky toe, it'll take you 3 months to learn how to walk again with the help of a physician. Like it's
Really, just the small toe.
yeah, that's what I've heard. It could be incorrect, but or differ from person to person. But like that's how complicated the foot is.
Oh yeah, and the big toe, you can't balance anymore. If you lose that, you're screwed.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm just thinking back to Kung Pao.
Yes.
You lose your toe. And then he ends up with missing his foot. Jesus.
And here's where we get some more fantastic POV shots here, because the male tech is like, okay, let's start with tracking. And then, Sage is like, give me a grid, holds up a pen and says, target, while somebody's like, check.
It's really hard in these minutes to not compare and contrast with the remake. I try to keep them separate, but just think about how the dehumanization is covered in both, and the fact that we go from Murphy as just this ordinary man to suddenly we're just seeing this machine, and we know it's supposed to be Murphy, but I think if you're watching this film for the first time, you're really uncertain what's going on right now. You're probably thinking, so is he okay? Is he still Murphy? What's going on? Whereas in the remake, it's, oh no, it's still him. He's still got his personality and his consciousness, and he's freaking out. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad choice. It's an interesting change, but obviously they don't do anything with it.
I think it ruins the entire point of the film. I think if he's awake, conscious, obviously him, you can see his whole face, and he's lucid, and he's like, I'm scared, where's my family? You're like, you're showing us the end of the movie. Why are you showing us the end of the movie at the beginning?
Well, even like, in the first movie, you don't know how much of him, because, they're saying lose the arm. Like, how much have they stripped away of Murphy to bring him in? And they're talking about blanking his memory. Whereas this one, it's just like, okay, we knew he got blowed up, but he just, pages there going, is he just a guy in a suit? I mean, yes, of course, they had to replace an arm because that got blown off, but, like, how much of that is still him? Whereas I think in the original one...
Oh, okay. There's a question of confusing an audience versus making an audience yearn for answers, right? Like there's a difference between like, what is going on, and like, man, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like if you're like completely lost, you're like, this is the dumbest movie I've ever watched. But if you're like, I have no idea what's going on and I can't wait to find out, that's good filmmaking.
Yes.
And it's very easy to veer from one into the other accidentally if you're not good at your craft.
Lost is a prime example. They're creating the mysteries, and mysteries are a lot of fun to create. They're very easy to create, but coming up with endings, resolutions, payoffs, that's where that distinguishes the experts from the amateurs.
For sure. Yeah, when you get that final scene and you're like, oh my gosh, it all makes sense. And you're like, oh man, this person knew what they were doing. But
that's about bringing the audience along with you on the story, not just going, we're just going to, God damn it, JJ, when it's just like, you don't know where you're going, so you can't tell your audience where you're going to.
Yeah. Well,
Or you just copy the end of fucking Wrath of Khan again.
Even with stories that I'm mostly making up along the way, I do at least have a rough idea of where it's ending and what I'm trying to say. If you start a story without even knowing what's the actual message here, what point am I trying to make, you're going to end up with Lost, where they had nothing to say. It's a lot of nothing.
You have to come back to you have to be able to refer to the theme or the core. Like, it's like when people write mission statements for their restaurant or for their not-for-profit board or whatever. I'm like, I used to think that was nonsense. I'm like, you know, your mission statement is to stay in business. What are you talking about? But, like, you know, if you don't have something like the theme of a movie, or if you don't have a point to refer back to at every step of the way, then it shows.
Well, this is why elevator pitches are so important in movies. What's the elevator pitch for RoboCop? A cop who gets killed and has to rediscover his humanity that's been stripped away from him. That's a pretty interesting story, rather than a cop who gets killed, put in a metal suit, and kind of has his...
He sort of loses his personality, like, slowly, but then he does...
And just me then, like, coming up with that on the spot... Part of the elevator pitch is also trying to sell it on the spot.
But see, they had the advantage of saying, okay, what about RoboCop remake? That's all they had to say.
Yes! What about RoboCop, but we make it shit?
My favorite one that I heard recently was I'm a big fan of the 1980s video game Joust.
Yeah.
You fly around in a suit of armor on the back of an ostrich and you bump into each other and you joust. The whole concept's bonkers, but I heard that the movie rights had been bought recently. Wow. And they were bought by a production company and it was going into production, and their elevator pitch was, it's like A Knight's Tale meets Fury Road.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm just like, well, you had me at hello. I'm there opening night. Okay, you have my money, sir. You know, like I'm on it. So that was a good one. I like that one.
So I've mentioned my Knight Rider fan fiction.
You look like crap.
Fuck you, kid!
And a commenter just the other day said, it's like Knight Rider meets Heathers. I'm like, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I love that.
That's amazing.
That's wonderful. With this scene here, where they go to, she goes, what does she say? Target, check. Target, check.
Yeah.
And then she says, now follow. And it cuts to him tracking. It cuts to it no longer POV, and he's tracking with his head. I have a sneaking suspicion it's because the animation of the time wasn't up to having those crosshairs follow the pen, because it would have had to have, if you can make the silhouette of a pen flash green for 3 frames, very effective, very easy.
Yeah.
But if you're going to make it go hard green and then float around with it, there wasn't the same kind of motion tracking software, editing software that we have today back then. So it would have had to have been done by hand in rotoscope, then it would have looked like a Ralph Bakshi animation or something.
So if we go to the dick shooting scene a few minutes down the road, I'm just trying to think. I think there might have been a locked off shot in RoboCop's POV when they animated that. So I'm just going to have a quick look.
A locked off shot would be a lot easier to do, for sure.
Yeah, because I'm going to say, I know there's tracking. Okay, so it zooms in. Because they did do some camera shake in post for some shots.
Okay.
So it could be one of those things where they maybe moved it around just to give it a bit of motion, but the actual overlay tracking is pretty slow and solid. You know, just to give it a bit of movement to, maybe he's going to miss.
Yeah, sure.
Because the guy's moving around too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does look locked off.
Yeah, and you can, if you've just got the horizontal and vertical line going, you can sort of make those move around. But as soon as you have to make an object go solid green and then track that, and it's going away and towards the camera, then it would automatically look ropey.
It was probably a budgetary thing as well, It's like, do we spend the extra money on the extra shot that we probably don't need, where we could just have RoboCop? And I think that's probably a relationship to the audience as well, is that you see RoboCop following with his head, you get a relationship between the tracking system and him.
For sure. Yeah, and that's like in the RoboCop remake, they're gonna go all bells and whistles and show this amazing digital readout of everything about the pen, and it'll come apart in a exploded 3D model or whatever.
I like the way he moves his head. You know, that's the one part where Weller actually has a lot of control, so that you're getting a sense of what he really wanted to do with the costume.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you got to imagine he's probably got like just the helmet on, maybe a bit of the armor, so he's probably there going, "Oh great, I'm not wearing that entire fucking thing."
Yeah. He's probably got his boxers on underneath there.
It's like Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man 2. They just basically gave him the helmet and the
that's right.
chest piece so he can just tracked it.
I think the downside is that with the Iron Man suit and stuff is that, well, okay, so by Endgame, the costume was almost like a symbiote. It was just sitting on him, and it was very, what's the word, techno-organic. But yeah, when you had those chunkier suits, the actor is moving in a very fluid way, not as if that they're contained within a costume. So that's one downside.
Yeah.
I prefer the chunkier
I
costumes,
do too.
to be honest, in regards to Iron Man's costumes.
I prefer the chunkier costumes, but you're right. There was like a sinuous, lithe, smooth movement going with these chunky costumes, and you're like, it didn't quite marry. They did a really good job. And I like the chunkier design. But I hear what you're saying there, Courtney.
What's that? God, they gave it 2 different names. So it's the Emily Blunt, Tom Cruise.
Oh,
Live, Die, Repeat, and Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah. So those exosuits, I think they were real, weren't they, or were they CG?
Yeah, they were real. They were like foam and plywood or whatever. But.
So that's an example of it. Even though the technology is super advanced and it's not really inhibiting their movement, it still changes their movement, changes the way they distribute their weight and everything.
For sure.
Working with practical things like practical props, practical costumes always adds to the actor's performance. They're reacting emotionally to the script and the scene, but they're also reacting to the physical limitations.
Yeah, like sometimes I'll be cleaning up motion capture where they're supposed to be playing with a soccer ball and they haven't given the actor a soccer ball. They're like just mime it. The animators will add it, and I'm like, you what? Like now, huh? That basically screws, the whole animation goes out the window because you gotta he forgets he's holding it for a few seconds,
My least favorite special effects shot in a major motion picture is the apple eating scene from Attack of the Clones, where Anakin floats the apple over to Padme. She picks it with a fork and then eats it, and it's clearly nothing is there, and they have to kind of
I mean, props to her having to pretend to eat something. That's not easy.
Oh, it was so
That's too bad. Because I think it's in the same scene when he's riding the back of that wildebeest or whatever.
Just after that, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's when Padme's I'm wearing a very slutty dress, but I'm not being a slut, so please don't try and romance me, Anakin scene.
I'm gonna try and break up with you, Anakin, in my BDSM outfit. It doesn't mean anything.
Designed by George Lucas
I'm
himself.
just thinking that we need to have more titties out is my idea.
Which, on a technical accomplishment, this was Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
All breast sizes are beautiful, but it's just on a technical level.
What do we got here? So technician says check, and then Sage says voice stress analyzer, and we get one of my favorite. This soundbite lives on in my head forever and ever. We got the Robocop's POV again, and they are right up his nose, right? Their lips are right on the camera, and Sage is like 1, 2, 3, and then the other guy's like and an octave higher,
and then the record and repeat. So good.
And we see the waveform of their voices, but I like this bit because of the overlapping dialogue. I'm like a real sucker for overlapping dialogue when information's coming at you from 2 or 3 characters, but it makes sense because in universe they're just scientists and this is a regular test. But I like that she's given the all business 1, 2, 3, while the dude is given this slightly ridiculous singing high into the camera. This got a big laugh in the theater when he's like, they were like, people were like, what is this guy doing? And I like that they resisted the temptation to have the girl do the singing. But I also like that scientists will
so good.
gleefully do ridiculous and embarrassing things in the name of science. Like without a second thought,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
it's part of the.
It's beautiful.
Like Jack, go sing to the robot. Oh, okay. That's what we're doing today.
Yeah, well, it's a living. I genuinely love this scene. It's one of the great scenes. Oh God, I think all of the scenes are the great scenes of
every
this
single
film.
one. It's start to finish. It never takes its foot off the gas.
Yeah, it's a surplus of treasures. I don't think we've had a single minute so far where we just went, wow, that was nothing.
Yeah.
It's always something to find.
That was what was the movie? I think it was. I think it might have been Mad Max. It was one of the movies that had 5 minutes of just driving.
Oh yeah. Because I'm listening to Mad Max and 2001: A Space Odyssey, and both of them are just like, and there's still blackness, or there's still driving. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I imagine like the minute by minute of the last moments, or like the last half hour of 2001 is just like, and there's colourful things on the screen.
Yeah.
Fuck.
There's a movie that Andy Warhol did called Empire, and it's a.
Oh, I've heard of
it's
that.
A 5 hour locked off. It's a 5 hour locked off real time shot of the Empire State Building, and that's it.
Yes,
that is it. And so a friend of mine's always joking with me that we should do that in the movie by minute format, and just use it as a springboard to talk about whatever, because that would be like I think over 700 episodes or something like that, and it would.
I think you could basically explore every room of the Empire State Building during that time. You would know how to build it. You would know every history of every room.
Every aspect of we both have degrees in architecture by the end.
Yeah,
we both,
exactly.
Like philosophical would be.
Honestly, I feel like movies by minute, especially the way I do it with Prometheus and all of that, where it's just me writing an essay. Am I actually eligible for an honorary degree? Because it's basically what I would have done if I did this academically. So,
if it's not for an accredited, authorized institution, then no. But you've done the work.
I'm sure we can create our own fake university.
Yeah, we got an M by M university. MMU.
Yeah.
MMU.
Do we have any more notes for this minute?
Yeah, I want to do something a little bit top down here. This is something because now that we're at the end of my third minute, and I'm shortly going to be disappearing into the ether. There was a series of books called the Night's Dawn trilogy by Peter F. Hamilton. It's a science fiction trilogy set in the far future. It's very complex, lots of stuff going on, but there are characters in it who they've forsaken their meat puppet shells and they're now fully automated. Usually mercenaries or whatever. It's not it's low-hanging fruit for science fiction for sure, but the way that it's written is that it really made the point to me that like if you can't eat or go to the bathroom, or if you don't sleep or feel pain anymore, if you don't have sex anymore, if you can see 360 degrees in infrared and you have like guns for hands and you're 12 feet tall, like how long how long can you remain human?
Yeah.
Like how long before your psyche is only pretending to be a person?
That's something I think about a lot. I mean, even in my personal life, just the body influencing the brain. But I've been doing this sentient car essay, which I will do it. I'll finish it one day. But it just got me thinking about AI in various bodies. I mean, what's the experience for Hal versus Kit versus C-3PO versus Connor from Detroit Become Human? The way they interact with their worlds, their societies, their own bodies is totally different. And it also affects the way we look at them, because you're not looking at a little BB-8 thinking it's going to become a sinister, world-conquering monster, but it could, because it's an AI. They're all AI. They're all equally capable of the same thing.
But they've got a different reality, right? Like if you get your arm blasted off, you don't feel it. And I think that there's like in this movie, he's getting when he gets destroyed at the end. He's feeling it. But there's like there's a Ghost in the Shell standalone complex.
Yeah.
So these little AI tanks that follow Kusanagi
The
around.
Tachikomas, they're so damn
The
cute.
Tachikomas, they're the best. And they but there's three of them chasing a car, and the car pops a big machine gun out of the back and opens fire and destroys the one in the middle. And the other two are talking to each other, and they're like, "Oh no, what happened to number two?" And like, "Oh, he's destroyed. He's going to get taken back to the central base for a complete refit." And the other one's like, "Oh, lucky."
Yeah.
You know, like, because that's their reality. They're like their friend's physical shell just got completely wiped out, but it doesn't matter to them.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing is with androids, human-looking androids, the how much we project onto them, and especially in terms of, but they would want love and they would want freedom, and so no one looks at Kit or Hal and goes, well, obviously Kit deserves to have a girlfriend, and all that. Although there are some episodes where they kind of.
I think I can categorically say there's one person on this planet that think Kit should have
Who's
a
that?
girlfriend.
No, Kit.
You.
Kit and Michael are already in a relationship. Thank you very much. So it's not like.
Kit's taken.
Yeah,
Kit's
exactly.
taken.
Yeah, I mean,
Kit
I
can do
have
better.
found. I have found romantic sort of fan fiction between David and Hal. So Dave and Hal. So anything's possible, but generally, we're not looking at those robotic robots or just disembodied voices going, "Oh, but you need to fall in love," and all of that crap.
But that's what I mean. That's what I really liked about movies like Her, or movies like what was the one with Oscar Isaac where he's the reclusive billionaire?
Ex Machina.
Ex Machina, right? Like I like that the robots in both of those movies, the automated people in both of those movies, were automated people.
Yeah.
Like when what's her face escapes in Ex Machina, the only thing she wants to do is go to the world's busiest intersection in Tokyo and watch people cross the street.
Yeah.
Because of all of those probability arcs mixing with each other, all those data points, that would be amazing. And I was like, that's what an AI would want to do. We're all afraid they want to take over the world, but this one wants to go to a busy intersection. So that's the other side of the spectrum where you've got true AI goals.
Yeah, it is fascinating that we project our insecurities, let's be brutally honest. We project our insecurities onto AIs and things like that because we are afraid, like, this is why... what's the thing... there's a theory called, was it the singularity, where it's like technology is going to evolve to the point where it's going to out-evolve us and it's going to just destroy humanity. It's basically Terminator theory, blah, 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 blah.
Well, the singularity isn't necessarily apocalyptic, so...
Yeah, it could also mean ultimate ascension.
Yeah.
But what I mean is, like, a lot of the thing is, people do look at these theories and go, humanity is redundant. I don't particularly think so. That's just not. I don't think of that bullshit. But it's amazing how we do project our insecurities onto an AI, and we do kind of. But that's like what we do with a lot of monsters in media and fiction.
We do that with everything. We just project everything onto everything.
Yeah. Well, and that would be the interesting experience of being a post-human in a robot shell, is you would have to project onto yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And how long would that last?
Yeah, I do like when you're saying, like, and I was just there going, I want to go here to experience it, because that to me feels more realistic to a computer learning program that's evolved, to the point where, what do you want? Johnny Five.
Yeah,
exactly. I want input.
Yeah.
I love Short Circuit, and I even like the second one that nobody likes.
I did not get through Short Circuit. Maybe I should give it another chance, but it was just
Oh, it's a creature of its time. It's not.
Yeah.
The Indian accent was killing me.
Ooh. No, it's a very hard watch these days. At the time, it was wonderful. As a child, when Johnny Five is saying "no, disassemble," I was like crying in the theater, like, "Oh, I feel you. I'd hate that too." But yeah, watching it now is like, "Ooh, yikes!"
Need input.
But this movie is like another. I mean, you probably talked about this before, but do you find that RoboCop is another riff on Frankenstein?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Morton is essentially the Frankenstein of this movie to a certain degree, with Robocop being the monster. But of course, we are sympathizing with the monster in this particular one. I was going to bring that up in one of the previous minutes, but because Morton is supposed to be the bad guy as much as everyone else is like OCP. We associate the monster so much that we kind of ignore even in Frankenstein, people don't think about the meta commentary, because a lot of early science fiction wasn't really pro-science in many ways. It was, again, coached in fear and fear of the modern world, or fear of the evolving modern world and stuff like that. So that's where a lot of that projected backwards onto it. What's his face? Lovecraft. It's all about insecurity.
So, yeah.
That went on a tangent.
Yeah.
Oh, just for a little tuck and a nip there. This with the we talk about how long would you last in a robot shell of a body. We see that in RoboCop 2, that most people not very long. That is
I love that shot.
my favorite sequence, and those two deaths are like the best part of the movie for RoboCop 2, in my opinion.
Yeah, it really is. So go to the commentary, and Paul talks about deliberately creating this barrier between RoboCop and the audience. He was actually concerned about the scene because he thought it was a little bit, he was being a bit audacious. It was the word he used, and he also thought that cutting in and out of the outside of the barrier to get those cut-in shots with the tracker and the baby food, he thought it was also breaking the walls and breaking the illusion of the thing. But Ed, basically turned around and says, he likes it. I'm with Ed on this. I actually think, the cutting-in shots don't harm the message. It helps the audience know what's going on, keeps track of things. And I think it was just a completely spinny round. It might have gone a little bit too much. So I think it works.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm with you.
And he also credits Yosh Vacano, who was uncredited in the cast list. Paul calls him his DP in this, even though, again, he's not credited. So it's just one of those quirks of, cast and crews. Sometimes there's people that don't get accredited, or, Paul brought in his own people and not necessarily the people that Orion wanted him to work with. And now I guess we have to talk about...
Gaslighting RoboCop.
Alex, how do you feel? I feel fine, Dr. Norton.
So in this minute, we've got RoboCop being unlocked, and it ends with him taking his first steps.
My only comment is, my hands are so big, they can touch everything except themselves.
Those look like big, strong hands.
Whoa!
I like how they smash so many pop culture references into one. Yeah, my only real note was that I like that he's slow to figure out that it's not a suit. It's him. It's his cybernetics. And again, in first person perspective, that would have been a lot more effective. And it makes sense though, like a phantom limb syndrome where, I'm seeing a hand, so it must be mine, right? And the brain fills that in.
Yeah. It is a good scene. It is still a good scene, but it could have been done.
Yeah, I think that's basically it.
Way. I don't have anything else to say with this particular minute. I think I vented previously.
Trying to go through it here to find something because that's one of the things about this movie, is that it's not even bad enough to completely rag on.
Exactly.
I said that, I think, last minute, not last minute, with Rick's last minute. I wish this was worse so it would be interesting.
Yeah, that's such a good way of putting it. That is exactly it, yeah.
It's like when you actively wish for a movie to be more terrible. If anything, just so you can throw it on next to Troll 2 or or anything else.
What's the so some quote somewhere, but it's kind of like, wow, you made RoboCop boring. That's amazing. That's an accomplishment. How do you even do that?
It is true.
You're like Anchorman. You're like, I'm not even
they
angry.
found a way.
That's just.
They were too busy. Oh God, what's the quote? They were too busy.
Yeah, too busy figuring out whether or not they could that they stopped. They didn't think about whether or not they should, or something like that.
She should. Yes.
But boring finds a way.
Yeah.
Look, we have to give the benefit of the doubt. I don't think they were trying to make a boring RoboCop film. They succeeded in making the boring RoboCop film.
I feel guilty, because I know that any film, like I said, that makes it to the screen intact is a miracle. So, and a lot of people worked really hard on it, and we're probably really stoked. It's a shame. That's a shame.
Yeah, the actors, for the most part, do feel like they're giving it their all. It's just, everything. I think I've said this in previous minutes. The cast are trying their best for the most part. It's really like the script letting them down, the cinematography letting it down, the editing letting it down, the directing letting it down. It feels like it's all back end.
Yeah.
I don't want to hate on it anymore, but yeah, that's it. I think I'm done trying to think about this movie for this day.
Yeah, for sure. Nope.
Any more notes?
Yep, we're done.
I can't think of a single more damn thing I want to say about this movie. So, thank you very much for joining us and enduring some of the blandest cinema in recent history.
But also some of the best.
Thank you so much for the remake minutes.
Please.
For the RoboCop 1982 version itself. There was it 1982 when this movie
87.
87. Okay.
Yeah, it's all over the place. It's one of those movies that did take a few years to get made, type of thing, and released 87.
Yeah, I always feel like it's earlier in the 80s, but it's not.
Yeah, it's weird.
Oh,
it feels like it should be like an 80. You know what? It's so good. It feels like it should be an 84 movie with like the rest of some of the best movies of the 80s, like Ghostbusters and that.
Yeah, or 82, like that summer of 82, which is like the best.
Between 82 and 85, I think, is just where we reached peak cinema, and now we're just trying to live on from that.
Yeah, we reached peak cinema after RoboCop, and there's never been a good movie ever since.
People are just desperate. They don't have anything else to choose from. But yes, so Duncan, where can we find you?
You can go to buyduncanshields.com, B-Y Duncan Shields, SHIELDS, for a look and a chance to buy my amazing book, and Small Windows, which is a fun little collection of short science fiction.
It's good stuff. I haven't finished it, but I will give it seal of approval already.
You can read it at your leisure because the stories are super short. Yeah, and then Chronologically Speaking. You can go to chronologicallyspeaking.com and check all the minutes out there, as well as the upcoming Tron Uprising minutes and the forthcoming Tron Legacy minutes. But if you want to, you can just put Chronologically Speaking into any old podcast search engine, and you will find them there too.
Yeah.
Excellent. And once again, thank you for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. You cannot, I almost got a RoboCop tattoo. I love this movie. I love it. So
wow.
What would it look like?
It would say, oh geez, I don't know. It'd be him. Oh, it would be specifically from, what was the one where he had the jetpack? Yeah. So.
Oh, RoboCop 3.
Him from RoboCop 3. Perhaps carrying an American flag, flying across my back.
Yes.
With his jetpack.
Yes.
With an orphan under one arm, which is saving an orphan.
It sounds like it needs more bald eagles on it. No, I was just thinking, how would it be meta if I got an OCP tattoo?
Well, it's small enough you could get it. Those kind of tattoos don't age well, though.
Yeah.
I'm a corporate stooge after
Put
all.
Barcode on you.
Yeah, I always thought about getting a barcode. That would be pretty funny.
Yeah, a lot of people. Again, those things don't. They blur. They blur after a while.
But yeah, you know where to find me, Travian Designs, and then go over to YouTube under my name. There's my videos. Also Instagram, keep forgetting about that one. Courtney Colson Prime. So yeah, that's my stuff.
And you can find me on Fandom Crossing, where I do Kung Pao Enter the Minute. on the YouTubes and all the other podcasting things. But speaking of other podcasting things, we have a YouTube as well, and Simplecast, Apple, Google, Spotify. I'm probably thinking of like half a dozen other things that I probably registered and completely forgot all about. But more importantly, rate and review, like, share, subscribe, do all that yummy algorithm business. And until next time,
Robocock! I'm running out of ways to do the voice, but...